If you're considering moving to Frederick, Maryland, then this video could save you from making a huge mistake. Because while most places in Frederick are great to live in, they're not great for everyone, and driving just 15 minutes from one side of the city to the other could mean the difference between living in a walkable area close to restaurants and shops or in a more quiet neighborhood with a planned community feel right next to the mountains. So in this video, I'm going to break down the major areas of Frederick, Maryland so you can understand what they're all about and where you should really move to. And my name is Brady, a realtor here in Maryland, and I'm helping families move to Frederick every single week, and I've made it my mission to help people just like you determine the areas that are best for you and your family. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Now let's dive into the video. Frederick City is one of the fastest growing cities in the entire state of Maryland, and the county as a whole also keeps up with that. And that's because there's been a ton of new construction across the county and the city in recent years, what we would call a new construction boom. And residential units have been being built nonstop for at least a decade, and there's really no signs of slowing down. And the reason that people are moving here is because of the location of Frederick. So let's dive into that location and then let's break down the different areas of Frederick so you can understand what they're all about and where you might want to move to. All right, so we have our map up here of Frederick, Maryland. So I just want to give you a quick little outline so you can see what we're talking about as we're moving around the map. And there are more areas of Frederick than what are shown here. Google Maps can be a little deceiving on what is actually within the city. Now that could be a lot of city limits, but there's going to be more to that. But first, let's dive into the location. So why are people moving here in droves? Why is there a new construction boom? Well, because of its location and proximity to Washington, D.C. We're about an hour to D.C. with no traffic. Yes, I know that there's, if you're a local, so much traffic on I-270 here during rush hour. So we'll talk about that. But the reason people are moving here is because prices down here in D.C. are not cheap. And as you work your way up this highway here, it gets cheaper and cheaper until you get to Frederick. And Frederick, seeing that big boom in recent years, obviously has seen an uptick in prices, but still it's reasonable for what you get for your dollar. So a lot of people are moving here because of that location, but also if you live in Frederick and you need to commute to Baltimore, also just under an hour with no traffic. So it's really convenient. It's a great location for that reason. And the city itself has a ton to offer. And usually the reason why people fall in love with Frederick is its downtown. So let's zoom in here and see what downtown is all about. And I'm going to show you kind of the outline of downtown Frederick. Google's going to get it mostly right, but it's a little bigger than what you're going to see here. Now, there are more than 40 square blocks of historic district in Frederick, which is incredible compared to other cities. But the reason people love downtown Frederick is it is surprisingly full of things to do. Local shops, local restaurants, local coffee shops. There's a ton of arts districts here, or a ton of artsy communities here that make this city really come alive. And when you go into the city, you'll really notice it when you start to visit the center of the city, which is at North Market Street and East Patrick Street. This is the city center. It's a beautiful place. There's so much to do around. No matter which street you go down right here, you're going to find something to do, a place to eat, a shop to go in. And that's why people love this area. And you'll see the photo on the screen is actually Carroll Creek. And that's another thing that people really love about visiting Frederick and living in Frederick is you have this beautiful park downtown. I mean, look at that. It's a great place to walk. It's actually designed after the San Antonio River Walk, and we call it a river walk in quotations. Yes, we know it's not a river. It's actually a stream that's turned into this whole kind of like floating little river walkway, and there's a lot of cool things in and around it, but walkways on both sides, restaurants along it. It's a really beautiful place to walk any time of year, and it just draws a lot of people into the city. So again, other than that location being close to DC and Baltimore, people just love that downtown. So let's say you want to live in Frederick. Let's go over the areas that most people are going to move to, and we're going to kind of take broad strokes, and then we can get into a few specifics. So for the most part, there are going to be 5 major areas of Frederick. The first is going to be downtown, like we mentioned, but I'm going to expand this area. We're going to go and just include a few more streets here. Downtown, you're going to see a lot of historic row homes, townhouses, if you want to call them that. And you'll have everything from 2-story homes to 4-story townhomes here that are historic and just beautiful. And what I'll say is, if you want an entire townhouse to yourself, I'm not talking condos or apartments, but a townhouse that is updated, you're going to be starting in the 700,000s in downtown. And there are very few detached homes here. They kind of look like your townhouses, but they, they're truly detached. Those are going to be pretty expensive as well. You can get well over $1 million downtown. There's also brand new condos downtown, or apartments that you can buy at the Visitation Hotel or right next to it. And those Visitation apartments are going for, I think, 1.5 million the last time I checked, and they are pretty expensive. So let's go take a look at that area real quick. And that brings us to something important to note about Frederick. So Frederick is, here it is. You can't really see it from the map as well, but there's already a building of condos here. This is the condos or apartments I'm talking about. And they're going for $1.5 million. They have garage spots, they're beautiful. Then you have the Visitation Hotel, which is a beautiful boutique hotel as well. It's got under 100 rooms. It's got the Y Oak Tavern, which has a celebrity chef running it. Really cool spot. But again, a lot of this leads to the higher price point. You have some great things downtown, a lot of historic streets, and to live here is a little pricey. And I think the other area you have to know about, and again, we're right outside of downtown here, is Baker Park. Probably the most iconic neighborhood in Frederick, and that's because the single family homes here are just incredible as well. There's no home that's the same here, and I would consider this right here the Baker Park neighborhood. Obviously it surrounds Baker Park, the actual 58-acre open space park with the community pool, the lake, the band shell for concerts. There's a lot here. Just, it's an amazing place to go, and there's paths all the way through it. This is another thing that draws people to Frederick, and they love living here. So homes here are going to range probably from $800,000 for a single family 2-bedroom home to $1.5 million for a larger single family home. Some can get as high as $2 million in this area. So this, again, it's just iconic Frederick. And if we were to go in here, you'll see on these streets, you could probably pick almost any street and it's going to be beautiful here. West 2nd Street is just an incredible place to check out homes. As you go down, you'll start to see there's a lot of character in these homes. Every house is different. Every house is unique. Just really cool charm here in downtown Frederick in Baker Park. So a lot of people want to move here, but they don't end up doing that because price per square foot is just too expensive. So where do they go? Well, one of the most popular places right now is going to be North Frederick. And I'm going to consider North Frederick a pretty large area. And we're going to talk about what that really means. We're going to go just above Fort Detrick. We're going to include these neighborhoods, Ryan Homes, Keystone, and we're going to come back down here. Okay, not the prettiest, but that's going to be North Frederick. It's kind of spreading up this 15 or Route 15 corridor, and that's because 15 leads up to Pennsylvania, leads up to Thurmont, Maryland. It's a very busy 4-lane highway, and that's one of the biggest complaints about people that live in this side of Frederick is that Route 15 here can get pretty congested. It can be a lot of traffic right where I'm drawing my line here, right outside of the center of town, by 7th Street, by the hospital. It can get pretty jammed up. If you're used to Dallas or other major metro areas traffic, this is nothing like that, okay? I think we get a little soft here about our traffic, and it's really not bad. I've sat in it many, many times, and it's nothing like even our traffic down around DC, around our I-495 Beltway. It just doesn't even compare, but it is a consideration. Now, the most popular neighborhoods that you'll see people moving to here are going to be Tuscarora Creek, which is already built, but then there's Tuscarora Creek East right nearby it. Beautiful area to buy a home. The homes there, they're doing single family and townhouses. You also have Keystone Custom, which is another new construction community still in the works. Single family homes and townhouses. They probably have the most customizable houses in the area outside of DRB Homes. Then you have Whittier, which is a established community. It has a community lake, and it's just a really cool place to be if you want an established feel with larger trees growing. You know, the newer communities, they don't have that. They're kind of bare and they plant all the trees, but it takes years to feel like that established homey feel like Lake Whittier has. Then you have Clover Hill, which is really unique because it is actually outside of city limits as far as taxes go. So you get the benefits of city water and sewer, but you don't pay the taxes. It's probably the only place on this whole north side that is like this. And then moving over to just the east side of 15, you have Worman's Mill and Mill Island. These are both part of the same community. Worman's Mill has a lot of townhouses, some single family homes. Same with Mill Island, except it's over top, or you have to go over top of a bridge to get to Mill Island. It doesn't feel like an island so much, but the vibe there is different. It feels like the landscaping, the sidewalks, everything ties together so well in Mill Island here. And if you zoom in, you can see what I mean. It's kind of this integrated community with interesting homes you won't see anywhere else in Frederick that have courtyards. If you can see that here, there's actually single family homes that kind of face each other in courtyards. You're not going to see that anywhere in Maryland that I have seen. So it's unique in that sense. It backs right up to the Monocacy River, which is a popular river to go, kayaking, tubing down in this side of Maryland. And it goes all the way to the Potomac River, which goes to DC. So people will do the whole float down the river or kayak all the way down and meet with the Potomac. And you could get all the way to the Jefferson Memorial, all the way down to DC there. It's pretty cool. Some other communities that you should know about are Waterside. This is a much more established townhouse community. It has a pool as well as Deerbought. Same thing, very unique community that also borders the Monocacy River and has townhouses, single family homes, and condos, and a really great pool here, actually, really great amenities. The unique thing here is they have a park along the Monocacy River with trails that you can walk for miles along the river. Very popular, but it's an established community. You're gonna find older townhouses and older single family homes in this area. And we're gonna talk about towns nearby in just a minute, like Walkersville, and we'll show some of those. But let's move on. That was the north corridor of Frederick, okay? Very popular place to move to. If you're buying a townhouse here, you're gonna be paying between about $400,000 and $600,000. Buying a single family home, you can find them in the 600,000s for the smaller single family homes here, and you could go well over $1.5 million here if you buy a larger Keystone custom home. But I would say for the most part, you can find a great home here for $750,000 to $850,000. Okay, now moving on to a very important part, a very economically important part of Frederick, and that is the Golden Mile. So the Golden Mile is this area of Route 40 here that has a ton of commercial, retail, dining options. It has car dealerships, just insane amount actually of things that you could shop at in this area of Frederick. And because of that, it's a busy place. It's also one of the oldest areas of Frederick that's not historic, meaning they were built in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Some newer communities were built in the 90s and early 2000s. But for the most part, you're gonna have places like Hillcrest Orchards, Frederick Heights. These are older homes. You have smaller 2-level townhouses, some condo complexes, and with that, you don't have as many people excited about moving here. Not to say you should not be. I have found that I have not had many clients targeting this area because the housing options just don't appeal to them. But there are great options here if you want it. But again, older homes, very commercialized area, very busy on this section of Route 40 here. I mean, this is going to be very loud, a lot of traffic, and a lot going on. What's cool about it though, is it's right next to Gambrel Mountain up here. So you could just drive right up to see the state park here. And if you just go over this first mountain range of the Appalachian Mountains that borders Frederick, you could end up in the Middletown Valley, which is a beautiful place. And we'll talk about Middletown very soon. All right. So moving on to the south corridor of Frederick, there's 2 areas that I think you really have to know about in the south corridors of Frederick. I'll switch my map back here. The first being Ballenger Creek, okay? This neighborhood here. It's actually a ton of smaller neighborhoods in the Ballenger Creek area, and it's a place that's outside of city limits as far as taxes go, so you're gonna save a lot of money here. I mean, you could save $4,000 to $5,000 on a single family home on Ballenger Creek, or living in Ballenger Creek versus living in the other areas of Frederick. And on a townhouse, you could be saving $3,200 to $3,500 a month from what I'm finding. So what you're going to find here is a really great county park. One thing that Frederick County, which is what Frederick City is in, does very well is their county parks. They are huge. They're really well maintained. They're great for kids. There's tot lots. There's all kinds of activity areas. And this one is very popular because of the dog parks here. They have multiple dog runs in Ballenger Creek Park, huge ones actually. So people love it here. There's a lot of events here. There's a lot of things you can reserve pavilions. And this is just one of many, again, county parks that are just, in my opinion, I'm happy to pay taxes for. And I'm not happy to pay taxes on much, but I'm happy to pay for those amenities. We use them all the time. And again, you're gonna find single family homes. You'll have some condos, but mostly single family homes and single family homes here. Built, most of them in like the 90s, some in the 80s, but 90s and early 2000s in this area. All right, and the most popular place to buy a house in Frederick is still on the southern corridor here. Here's downtown where the Carroll Creek Pin is, just for reference. Again, DC down here. It's why this area is so popular is you're getting about 15 to 20 minutes closer to DC, depending on what area of Frederick you're talking about. And Urbana should be its own town. Urbana really should be its own town. It's a master plan community that was done extremely well. Everything intertwines. It has its own parks, its own trail systems. It has its own commercial retail center, like a market center with a grocery store and a library in it. It's the county library. It's the Urbana Regional Library through the county, but it feels like it's a city library. And I wish I could actually grab a little shot here. It's really well, here we go. Really well maintained spot. Just a great place. There's always activities there if you have kids, and it's right next to the shopping center here. And people love Urbana because of the school system. And like some towns nearby, you have your schools kind of isolated from the rest of Frederick, meaning that Urbana High, Urbana Middle, and there's some other middle schools and elementary schools, but you know where your kids are going to be districted. So people love it here. They also have high public school ratings if you go to niche.com or greatschools.org. And again, those are kind of subjective, so you have to do your studying there. But for the most part, people move here for the schools and that location sitting right on I-270. They can hop right on, go down to either Montgomery County or DC, and it's much closer than living in Frederick. But with that comes a hefty price tag where you can find $400,000 townhouses very easily in the rest of Frederick. Here, you're gonna probably start in the $500,000 mark. And for single family homes, you're gonna be starting in the high 8s, usually the 9s, and going into the low $1.1, $1.2 million range for an updated single family home. All right, we have one last section of Frederick we have to talk about, and it's the Eastern Corridor. It's very interesting. This is where a lot of growth is also happening, and it's combining two areas. It's combining Frederick with Newmarket. And just to give you an idea of what Newmarket is, it might as well be Frederick, just like Urbana is actually closer, or this is closer than Urbana. So actually I should go by zip code here. Okay, so Newmarket borders Frederick, which is all this area here. So I just want to keep that up while we're talking about this area, okay? So the eastern side of Frederick, we already talked about Dearborn, so we're going to stay low here. This is going to be the eastern side of Frederick. One of the most popular communities to live in Frederick, other than Urbana, is right here in Spring Ridge. A large established community with homes built in the 90s for the most part, maybe early 2000s for some, but it's a very well thought out community as well with some trail systems. It does have its pool and it has an elementary school right in the in the neighborhood itself. And the good thing about it is it's split by I-70. But the good thing about it too is it does have its own shopping center as well. So if you want something quick, you just go right over to your own shopping center. And if you don't want that, you just go over here to the north side or middle of Frederick, really. You have your Costco. You have everything on this Buckystown Pike corridor right by Ballenger Creek available to you. So super convenient, a very popular place to live. Now, if you're wanting new construction, that's something that you're considering right now. Again, North Frederick has a ton of new construction, and what I'm seeing right now is Lake Linganore in Newmarket with a ton of new construction homes. They just opened a new community called Westridge over here, which is this area. You can't really tell that they're built yet, but they already have some townhouses and single family models built. That is technically still Lake Linganore and Newmarket. Lake Linganore is a huge community around this lake over here, and just very amenity rich community that is unique as well. There's just not anywhere like this in the region, and there's a lot of new construction going on there, and people are choosing to move there because of the neighborhood, but the proximity to Frederick as well, and also highly rated schools. So that brings us into our towns list. Let's just go through really quick about the towns around Frederick. We talked about Newmarket. It's a historic town with a huge neighborhood called Lake Linganore. Amazing place to live. Then you have Walkersville, which is kind of like your more rural country town that doesn't have much downtown at all. No shops, no restaurants, but your local high school with fairly high ratings and much cheaper homes. Now, let's go up just real quick. Thurmont is going to be probably your most affordable on the list. Really far up there, but people will move there for the prices alone and the beautiful Cunningham Falls State Park and Catoctin Mountains. Then you have, let's see, we have, well, we're not going to go all the way up to Hagerstown because that's not a part of it. So we're going to stay in Middletown here. Another historic town that does have shops and restaurants, and it's in the Middletown Valley, a beautiful place that George Washington even said was a beautiful place. And it has a lot here to offer. It has its own elementary, middle, and high school. They're highly rated. It has easy access into Frederick, about 20 minutes. And you could also go into Northern Virginia if you really wanted to by going down to Route 340. Also super convenient. Now you get a lot of larger colonial style homes here that were built in the 90s and 2000s and for a much better price than what you'll find in Frederick. There's also a golf course here. Middletown Park is huge. This is just in the beginning stages, in my opinion, of development. There's not a ton of projects on the radar other than a 55 plus above Middletown Park, but I would expect more in the future. Okay, then you have the other popular town nearby, Brunswick. Also really great price right on the Potomac River, easy access into Northern Virginia, and you're gonna have Old Town Brunswick and newer construction here. And lastly, I just wanna point out two real quick, Monrovia here, no downtown whatsoever, and Imesville, also no downtown, but great suburban communities. They should really be called suburbs of Frederick, but they are their own zip codes to consider. Great areas there. Okay. So these are the areas of Frederick that you need to know about. If you're curious about more about the specifics of these neighborhoods, that's exactly what I'm here for. I help families just like yours determine the best places to move to. I help you really nail down the details, talk about the price points, talk about the style of houses, everything that you really need to know when making a move. So while this is the broad strokes overview of Frederick and the different areas, it can get much more detailed than this once you start searching, and that's what I'm here for. So make sure to schedule a one-on-one consultation with me, whether you're thinking of moving in 2 months or 2 years. It's never too soon to get a plan together, and the best way to do that is go in the description below and click on the link to schedule that call. I also have a very helpful relocation roadmap that'll give you the next steps, whether you have a house to sell or not when moving from out of state. And as always, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you stay up to date on all my videos about moving to Maryland.